everybody, Duran here with the book Nook. And if you're watching this broadcast, then basically you're either a local originator that works with us, which is our local author program, or you're somebody tuning in to be a part of the teaching. I'm real excited about what I got to share with you today. It was a teaching that I did at our last Originators meeting. We have them quarterly, and a good 25 some odd um, authors there. And we shared the importance of the power of a seed and how we as authors can live our dreams and then make those dreams a reality for other people to see. So I'm real glad you're tuning in. And let's get started in the session. So, one of my favorite kids' movies or cartoons is the movie Bug Life. I like it a lot because it shows a little bit about the struggle. It's a fun characters in it too, and I like it a lot because Flip, the main character, he goes through a process of growing and changing. One of the parts that I used in the movie to talk about the teaching that we in the power of a seed was the part where Flip is trying to teach the princess about the importance of a seed, and he can't find the seed. So what he does is he gets the rock, and he tries to get the princess to imagine that the rock is actually a seed. And the challenge that he has is that the princess is not able to see the rock as a seed. He keeps explaining about the potential of growth and how big the seed can starts out small and can grow big. And the whole time she's thinking, "Oh, it's a rock." And I like that illustration because a lot of times, as local authors or as authors, we are in the process of trying to get people to see things that they're having a hard time to see. And the whole process of a power of a seed is there's a potential as local authors that we can share something that does not exist or create something that does not exist and bringing it through a process to it does exist so other people can see it. So that's what we'll be talking about today. So since you're watching this video, you're probably a creative person. And if you are a creative person, you probably ran into this problem. Most creative people have the challenge of displaying things that most people can't see. As a creative person, you have this ability to see things that most people can't see and then also see things before people can see them. I'll give you an excellent example that not too long ago we had an event which was called the Wicked Weekend for the Book Nook and the bookstores. So basically, what happened is we got real excited about the whole Wicked movie and experience. And so, what we want to do is we want to create an experience to celebrate the whole Wicked movie and then also the book, and then also a couple cool things we learned about Wicked. So, basically, we wanted to do something within the Little Nook, our smaller meeting room area, to transform that into a place where people could learn about Wicked and then also have an experience. So the idea was on the inside of us, but uh, besides sharing it through word of mouth, we had to kind of create it. So we ended up printing up certain pictures and holding up posters and you run in Home Depot and make an entire display and then get some video elements. We even went as far to get someone to bring a goat to be Dr. Dillman, and we dressed the goat up in order to be the doctor. And so what happened was we took this idea that was on the inside of us and we transferred that into reality so that other people could see. As a local author, you run into the same challenge. You have a book, you have an idea that you want to share, but people can't see it, but you can see it clearly. So the process of a seed is born inside you, and you need to take that seed and put it into a format or a transformation process so other people can see. So in this training, I want to talk about three different aspects of the power of the seed and how we as dreamers can make that dream that's inside of us into reality so other people can see. The first one is called the eye of the dreamer, and that's the process of how we see things that other people can't see. Next aspect of it, we're going to talk about the dilemma of the dreamer. And the dilemma of the dreamer is going to be what are the challenges we have as the dreamer in order for other people to be able to see the dreams that we have on the inside of us. And then after that, we're going to talk about the work of a dreamer. And so what's necessary and the price we have to pay in order for those things to be a reality. So let's go in the first part, which is the eye of the dreamer. So the process that we went through as a bookstore and producing this Wicked display is the exact same process that we go through as local authors. There's a book that we want to write, or there's a literary work that we want to produce, and that literary work we want to produce in such a way that other people can actually see it, but it's locked up on the inside of us. So we go through this process. Now, in the notes, if you got the notes, if not, just follow along here on the video. There's a statement that I want to read. It says, "We see we see things that do not exist. Find ways to create them with limited resources to help people who can't see them see them. We see things that do not exist, find ways to create them with limited resources, and help people who can't see them see them." So there's that process. It doesn't exist. We have limited resources, which are going to be the constraints and the challenges that we have when we produce them. And then people who can't see them. So eventually they begin to see them and start adopting and running with the idea of the literary work that we're writing. Those are people that fall in love with our writing, and so now they can see and they get excited about the next book we're going to produce, or get excited sharing those with other people. Why? Because now they can see what they couldn't see before, and they can see it through our literary work. Uh, we see things others do not see. As a creative person, you have to come to the understanding that you're going to be able to see things that most people do not see. That's okay. The creative process makes it so others can see what we can see. So let's move on to the next one, and this is called the dilemma of the dreamer. Any dream will have challenges. Any dream will have what I like to call resistance. There's several different things that are going to be challenges that we have to overcome as we're doing our literary work. A lot of them have to do with our internal, us personally, as factors, and not necessarily factors on the outside of us, but the factors that are within us in order for us to be able to produce that literary work that most people cannot see, in order for that dream to become alive. And in this section, when we talk about the dilemma of the dreamer, I want to identify what are some of those, and then when we get to the works, we'll talk about how we overcome those. Okay, so when it comes to the dilemma of the dreamer, it is a process of evaluation of, are we willing to pay the price, or what is the price that we have to pay as the dreamer in order for that dream to be produced. Uh, Whatever dream of your literary work there is a price that needs to be paid. Now, not every dream that we have becomes a reality. I mean, some of them will, some of them won't, but us as a dreamer need to make sure that we are conscious of what is the price that needs to be paid, and if we are willing to make the price and the work that has to go on as a result of the dream that we have. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that are resisting factors when it comes to our dreams become a reality. The first one, resources. There's always going to be a lack of resources. If you get to a position where you do not have lack of resources, your dream will probably grow, and then you will eventually have lack of resources. So deciding ahead of time how we're going to deal with that lack of resource is a part of that dilemma of the dreamer. The other one is the lack of time. We are all going to have constraints, different things that are going to challenge us when it comes to time. I've never met a writer or that has said they have more than enough time in order to write. Another one is going to be discouragement. I think that is not necessarily just with writers, but that's with people in general. There is always discouragement that we have to deal with. And then the next one, lack of finances. I've never, and I explained that a little bit when we talked about resources. Finances could be a limiting factor on you being able to dream. So live your literary dream. Another one is personal challenges in life. I wish I could tell you that when you're living your life and the challenges that come in your challenges of your life said, hey, I realize that you're doing a literary work. Let me hold off with the challenges that go on in life and let you go ahead and finish your literary work. And then I'll come in. No, that's not the way it works. As a business owner, uh, there's always challenges in life as well as challenges in literary works as well as we're dreaming as a dreamer. Next one is the lack of personal skills. Sometimes we lack the interior discipline or interior motivation in order to be consistent in our writing. So that could also be a limiting factor. And the list goes on and on and on. As a dreamer, as we get into this, the dilemma of the dreamer, we have to take in consideration what are those limiting factors, and what are the major limiting factors that if we can find solutions for, we can be more successful as writers. I like to think, I like to put it this way: what is that one limiting factor, or those two limiting factors that if you could figure out a way in order to deal with them and conquer those, how much more successful would you be as a writer? So, in the presentation that I did with the local authors, there was a group of quotes that I shared, or some examples I shared when it came to resistance. I'm going to share those here now as well. When it came to NASA, NASA experienced 20 failures in its 28 attempts to send a rocket to space. That's NASA. Henry Ford's early businesses failed and left him broke 5 times before he founded Ford Motor Company. It's an example of Henry Ford. Albert Einstein was thought to be mentally handicapped before changing the face of modern physics and winning the Nobel Peace Prize. So, our Nobel Prize. Very interesting. One of the things that on my Facebook banners, one of the ones I shared a long time ago was a picture of Albert Einstein and his therapist. So, uh, think about it, how brilliant Einstein was, and he also had a therapist. So, it took Edison 1,000 attempts before inventing the light bulb. His teacher also told him growing up that he was too stupid to learn anything. So, this example of Albert Einstein, or excuse me, Thomas Edison. Lucille Ball was regarded as a failed actress before she won 4 Emmys and a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Kennedy Center Honors. So interesting. That's Lucille Ball. Dr. Seuss' first book was rejected 27 publishers before it was accepted. And then lastly, American author Jack London received 600 rejections before he for his first story was accepted. And then lastly, probably my favorite, J.K. Rowling was nearly penniless, severely depressed, divorced, and single mom when she went to school while she was writing Harry Potter. All right, so those are some examples of people who had resistance as they were doing their life and then also their literary career. So uh, I don't know what kind of resistance that you're facing, but it's a normal part of the process. All right, so now getting into the third and last part of our outline when it comes to the power of a seed. We're talking about the work of a dreamer, the work of a dreamer. Simply stated, the work of a dreamer is to pay or not to pay the price of adversity to make the dream a reality. With each project, we have to assess excuse me, the cost and make sure we are willing to pay the price of the dream with every stage of adversity. As I explained a little bit earlier, in every aspect of the dream or bringing things that people can't see into reality so people can see, especially with our literary works. It can work with business, it can work in life. Pretty much the principle goes in all different areas of life. But when it comes to the literary work, there is a price that needs to be paid. And our ability to acquire the disciplines to pay that price is one of the things that are going to make us successful. So basically, writing a book is not easy. There are countless of obstacles that get in the way of completion. It's important that we recognize them and have some sort of plan to deal with those foreseeable obstacles. Not all the obstacles that we face are foreseeable, but for the ones that we can foresee, we need to be able to identify them and then also put a plan in place so that we can overcome them. I'm not sure where you are on the writing journey, but you probably are dealing with a few key obstacles that if you had a workable plan with them, you would be able to successfully have your literary dreams come true. The way I like to think about it is this: what is the one obstacle that is keeping you from being successful and completing your next book, or completing your first book, or to completing different things in your life? If you can identify those and establish a plan, then you're well on your way to doing the work of a dreamer. So basically, the way I like to look at it, that one of the if you have a obstacle or a challenge that's keeping you from being more successful as a literary writer, or excuse me, as a writer, it's usually going to fall in one of the three different categories, three different areas. And as I explained a little bit earlier, your success as a writer is to be able to have a plan to identify one of these three areas and also have a plan in place just in case they arise. The first one is going to be time constraints. Time constraints. I wish we lived in a hypothetical world where we all did not have constraints when it comes to time. But in a realistic world, we all have challenges when it comes to time. Finding the time to write, finding time in our schedule, being consistent with that time in the schedule is always going to be a challenge for us. You're not being able to find the time to write with your busy schedule, a dedicated time where the noise of life is quiet and you can focus on writing is highly advisable. Setting an appointment with yourself just so as you would with another person's help. So basically, when we go to set an appointment, just think of it from the standpoint of a doctor's appointment. If I'm going to set an appointment with a doctor, it's a specific time set apart because to do whatever I need to do with a doctor or an appointment or whatever. It's important for us to think of it in that same way. I would even explain it to people that I do have an appointment at this time. You don't have to tell them it's with you, with yourself, or to write or whatever, because sometimes when we tell them I have time set it to write, people think that's not important. But you just want to be consistent with that time. Set that apart so that people can respect it and that you'll have that consistent time. A consistent time and a consistent appointment with yourself in order to do that. That can be weekly, that can be daily, however you want to do it, just a consistent time. The next would be content challenges. A lot of times we feel like we may have like burnout or we may be lack creativity when we write. So we have a tendency of not writing because we feel like we do not have content at that particular moment. It is, if we wait until we feel like writing, we're going to most likely not write very often. You should try to develop the discipline to write, even if you feel like it or not. Matter of fact, sometimes when you don't feel like it and you're consistent with it, it's going to be some of your best works. So you want to make sure that content, you don't cripple yourself because of content. The idea is to just get a consistent writing amount on a page. So if your word count is so much or how many pages you have, slot it on each of your time that you set apart to write. Just push through. In the process of going back and editing and things like that, you can always clear that up. But the important thing to do is just to write. Get that aspect down on paper. If you feel creative or not, you'll appreciate it once you get done. The idea is to create consistency in your writing schedule. And the last thing is motivational constraints. Motivational constraints. As I shared a little bit earlier, if you wait until you feel like writing, you most likely are going to be very consistent when it comes to writing. So, what you want to do is you want to develop an environment where you can motivate yourself to consistently write. Now, let's be honest. If you weren't challenged in this area, you probably would have, up to this point, have written more. So all of us are challenged when it comes to motivation. Sometimes we feel motivated, sometimes we don't. One of the main ways that we can handle that so that we can be consistent is to get yourself around other people who are motivated when it comes to writing. Get yourself around a collective or a group of people that are writing at a certain time. You don't even have to write about the same things. Just the idea of getting all you together and you're going to write at a specific time will help foster your consistency when it comes to writing. Uh, then, when the creative juices flow, then you can flow. And then when they're not, it doesn't matter. You're still being consistent with the time that you need to write. When you're around other people that write consistently, you get motivated to do it yourself. There is power in accountability. When people know that you're supposed to be there, you know that people are counting on you to be there, you'll show up. So, like I explained, the motivational constraints. You want to be able to identify those three different areas and come up with a plan so that you can tackle and conquer those restraints. So, there you have it. Teaching on how you can take your dream and make it into reality. Some practical steps there. We here at the Book Nook are committed to helping local authors like you. So if there's anything we can do in order to help you, just let us know. I hope that this lesson is something that can help you be more effective as a writer. And thanks for watching. We'll see you around the Nook. So there you have it. Teaching on how you can take your dream and make it into